Today I want to go through 10 reasons why you shouldn't be playing Call of Duty and one reason why you might still do. I'm not one of these negative channels here. I don't always want to bring the doom and gloom. I've been playing Call of Duty ever since it first came out, and in fact I based my channel largely around it when I launched it just over 12 months ago. Like, I am a Call of Duty fan. I want to see it succeed. So it's not like me to just talk about all the negative stuff, but just given the way Warzone and Call of Duty is this year, especially with Black Ops 6, I think it's fair that we just go through a few things, talk about the elephant in the room, and just get them out there, have a little bit of a chat. I'm interested to hear what you watching this video right now think about it, how you feel. Maybe some of these things you feel very passionately about. You might agree with some of them, you might disagree. Let me know. I'm going to go down from 10 down to 1, starting with the least impactful, working our way up to the most almost game-breaking, depending on your perspective. So, starting with 10, poor weapon balancing. You might know this as meta, most effective tactics available, whatever. Basically, what we're talking about is having to use the same guns all the flipping time. Never used to be a thing in multiplayer before the advent of Warzone, I don't think, but ever since Warzone's come about, this has just been an absolute issue. Just such an issue. Really boring. I don't know about you, but I just find using the same gun, or everyone just being forced to use the same gun, more to the point, really boring. I like having choice and being able to choose how you play the game and what guns you're going to use to do that. And this whole meta thing, it's so dull. Typically what happens is, ever since Warzone 1 came in, you've always got a meta weapon, right? You've always got like the top most powerful or overpowered weapon, whether that's the Krig or the Growl or whatever, and if you don't use it, you're getting beamed. That's what it comes down to. So how this dynamic works out is the new game comes out, and there's a strong new OP meta gun, and then that'll be super powerful, and then eventually it'll get nerfed into the ground, and then there'll be a new gun comes out, and then that'll be the new overpowered thing, or there'll be a weapon balance change comes out, and something else will be the top gun that you absolutely have to use to avoid getting gunned or losing toe-to-toe gunfights with people. That'll go on, that cycle, like every sort of several few weeks, every couple of months, up until about the 8th or 9th month of the year, and then you'll get like 2 months where the weapon balancing's like pretty good. That's what I find. Like the last 2 months of the game's annual cycle, weapon balancing generally is not in a horrendous place. And then the new game comes out and they throw it all out the window. They keep all the old guns in. They try and integrate it all with all the new guns. Generally, the old guns tend to be a bit useless, unless, like with the current one, they undo a load of like patches and bring all the broken guns back, like they did with the RAL Jack protein attachment this time round. But basically, we're just at this place now where we've got like thousands of guns to contend with, and the devs are just running around with their heads on fire, like trying to keep things balanced without having anything meta, without having anything totally overpowered. As it stands in terms of a game launch, this is probably one of the better ones in terms of weapon balancing. There's definitely more viable guns to use this time round with Black Ops 6, but we've still got the XM4. Everybody's still using an XM4 for long-range AR action with the buffer weight stock. Like that is the gun you're using. Nobody's using LMGs, despite the XMG is probably the next best viable option. Nobody's using LMGs. The shotguns are terrible. Can't use a shotgun. Marksman rifles, every game consistently, aside for the DMR, are always terrible. Yeah, let's just sort it out, Call of Duty. I propose getting rid of all the old guns from all the old Call of Duties. When a new game comes out, like, you've had 12 months use out of it. Pre-Warzone, you get 12 months with a COD, and then if you want to carry on using your stuff, you play the old COD. Like, we get a new game every 12 months. Folks, let it go. Just let's have a manageable pool of guns and let the developers work on having a sensible pool of guns that they can keep balanced, so that we can have a new, fresh experience every year. Because part of this issue is it's just keeping it interesting, isn't it? Before I'm here all day just talking about the first point, poor weapon balancing, that's that done. However, if you've got the top gun sorted, if you've decided you've got the top meta loadout and your perks are all sorted and you've got everything as you've been dictated to by people like me on the internet, you've got the guns you absolutely need, none of that matters if you can't see your opponent. So on to point 9 is visibility. Call of Duty has terrible visibility. Terrible. And it's a bit like the frog that's been boiled in a bath, like slowly. You know, you're in it, and it didn't seem too bad, like when Verdansk first came out. And then somehow, definitely took a bit of a step change when Modern Warfare 2 launched. But the visibility in this game has just got to a point where it's terrible. It's awful. And they've made some changes recently to improve recoil and noise on, I think it was just visual recoil mainly, on some of the automatic rifles. But it's still bad. It's still bad. Lighting's still terrible. In the Gulag in particular, I could do a whole video of highlight reels of visibility being awful in the Gulag. It's not great if you're a controller player, but at least you can use aim assist to sort of like blindly help you with your tracking. But as a mouse and keyboard player, you are screwed. Absolutely screwed. You can't see anybody. You got an eyesight gun in a Gulag with that light shining down and all the smoke coming out the end of the barrel of the gun. It's taking it out of your hands. And a large part of what the dissatisfaction of some of the items on that list, this list that I'm going through today, are going to touch on. The worst thing any gamer can experience, if I had to put it down to one thing, the worst thing any gamer can experience in a game is dying or losing to something that's completely out of their control. Yeah, if you lose to a better player, if you lose because you just made a mistake, but that's one thing. But just losing because something is completely out of your control is just the most dissatisfying experience possible, imaginable. And so when you can't see your opponent and then you're just putting it down to luck. One of the things that made this most clear to me, I don't know if you were playing in Modern Warfare 3 when they brought all the cel-shaded maps and operators out, and it really popped. All the colours were vibrant and it all really popped. And the main thing was just operators stood out against the background, so you could just see the people. And yeah, it was all really bright and cartoony, and I'm not suggesting we go to that with Call of Duty like moving forward exactly, or Warzone, but it just brought it home how, you know, games like Fortnite, they don't have those issues. And again, I know that's like bright, cartoony graphics, and I'm not suggesting we go to that, but there must be some middle ground. There must be some middle ground. Like, we're not this like hardcore military simulator, are we, in Call of Duty? It is like a casual, fun game it's supposed to be. And just being able to see your opponent shouldn't be the biggest barrier to success in this game. That's all I'm thinking. Just the skill is in the tactics in how you approach the battle, and then being able to outgun your enemy, not whether you can physically see them in the first place. So, there. Visibility, you know, if it's not your raging eyes, it's the flipping game that's letting you down in terms of not being able to see. And so if it's not bad enough not being able to see, with number 8 on the list, let's talk about the fact that you can barely hear what's going on. So, like in the last game, we had the real issue with the footsteps or the non-existent footstep audio. And what I found was, and a lot of other people were doing this, I'm sure, is we were using focus perk to really boost the sounds. But then what that meant was, especially in Warzone, is you could hear footsteps for like 300 meters away, and there'd be people like in a building, like with 3 buildings in between you and them, and then you're like, well, I can hear there's somebody, but I'm not sure where. So that was like the risk you took, but at least you heard stuff. Like we're fighting the guy above them. What are these? I don't know what all the different perks are. Crowded. Oh my days. Okay, this is what people are saying about the audio. Didn't hear a flipping thing until he was in the room with me. But like the current game, they've like fixed that, so you don't need a perk to hear footsteps now. Like, footsteps are boosted, but there's this horrible echo sound everywhere. So there's almost zero ability to track the direction of sounds. Like, especially in Warzone, I'm talking about more now. I'd say footsteps are better in multiplayer. I'd say they're not overly loud, but they're fairly consistent. You just have to really listen out for them. But in Warzone, the audio's awful. So much noise with airstrikes coming in-game announcements, and you can turn as much of it as you can down, but you can't turn sound effects down, and all the announcements come in over that, all the airstrikes come in over that. Like, God forbid, you're in a gunfight, and maybe you get an assist on something, and you're going for like another opponent, or somebody's coming to third party, and if you level up on the cusp of a gunfight, you've had it. You've absolutely had it, because you get the like all this like heavy metal music like kicking in, and you're trying to hear like where somebody's creeping up a flight of stairs at you. Oh my days. Anyway, and parachutes, please, really? Are we still not there yet with parachute audio? Absolutely no audio whatsoever. I mean, how that's still a thing in this game, I don't know. But unfortunately, I don't. Is that ever going to get fixed? I'm pretty resigned to the fact it won't do at this point for whatever reason, until they completely scorch this game and do a new one fresh. They just can't get the parachute audio sorted, especially if you shooting a gun, which I kind of get to a point, but if you're shooting a gun in a firefight on a roof, somebody can land on you, and it just the gunfire completely cancels the parachute audio. It doesn't like mask it. The way the game prioritizes audio, it basically just cuts out the audio from the parachute, so somebody can just land on you completely ninja-like. Yeah, I'm sure you've had that happen to you. I've certainly had it happen. I certainly play the advantages of that too, but, you know, because don't hate the player, hate the game, but yeah, audio. I just wish they'd improve the audio, especially in the current one. They just need to get rid of all this weird echo, reverberation noise. They've done well in boosting it, but at the minute you can't tell what is going on. You know, I use the high alert perk, whatever the new high alert perk's called. I use that to know that somebody is nearby. That's absolutely priceless, by the way. Beyond that, you don't know whether somebody's up, down, in front, behind. I'm already getting murdered like regularly to people just coming at me from some random direction, and I don't know where they are. I'm sure you've had it exactly the same, and if you've not yet, then you will. So yeah, to wrap up all our senses, we're going to move on to number 7 on the list, which is SBMM or EOMM, which is skill-based matchmaking or engagement optimized matchmaking. The first one has been pretty much accepted and reported by Call of Duty. They've put out even put out a paper explaining how it works to a degree. They've tried to explain how it works, and the engagement side of it, that's more sort of fan belief, but it's a little bit like there's no smoke without fire on that one. However you want to paint it and whatever you want to call it, Call of Duty match you by skill. So we have the ranked mode, we have the unranked mode. And you think, okay, I play ranked if I want to be serious and go against like tough opponents and play against tougher and tougher opponents. But the issue is skill-based matchmaking places you against tougher opponents whether you like it or not. So if you want a casual experience and just go into a lobby like the old days of all the people who don't know which end of the gun to hold versus all the top players in the game, and obviously there's only going to be like a little sprinkling of the top players. But if you want to go in and have that whole experience and have that feeling of you getting better and better as you play the game more and like progressing further or getting higher scores in multiplayer or in Warzone, whichever game mode you're playing, that's like kind of chalked now. That's gone. Because with SBMM, you basically, as you get better, you just get better opponents. So it always sort of gears you around like having whatever the metric is, however you determine it. But like if you say you had a 1 KD, a 1 kill death ratio, and maybe you're working towards having a 2 kill death ratio, it's just going to give you tougher opponents so that you die just the same and you still have a 1 KD. And I personally, I don't care too much about KD. I'm more about, if in multiplayer, I like the objective. I play the objective. That's the most important thing to me, unless you're playing team deathmatch, which I can't stand. But each to their own, nothing wrong with that. And then Warzone, you know, KD is very subjective. KD is so subjective. Anyway, we're not talking about KD. We're talking about how you get placed against tougher opponents. And the most sinister form of it, in terms of engagement-based matchmaking, is to basically just keep people playing more and more. And Call of Duty, Activision, they say that's to maximise the player experience. But what I would say to that is just because you play more or people don't quit as much, it doesn't mean we're enjoying the game as much. I could make this whole video now, I could like tease you in with little clickbait things and say, stay to the end and I'm going to give you the secret trick which you're going to need to like win your next game of Warzone guaranteed. It's in 2 hours time. Just keep watching because you need to watch every little step along the way. And then at the end they give you some rubbishy result and you're like, what the flip just happened? I've just wasted 2 hours of my life. Well, that's a little bit like how engagement optimized matchmaking feels, right? The way is, the more serious players, the more committed players who just want to keep playing, they just get a tougher time of it because Call of Duty knows they're going to keep playing. If you're a little bit more casual and you get a bit flaky with your experience, you're not as bothered, you're going to get mollycoddled. You're just going to get mollycoddled with easier lobbies, easier opponents. You can have an easier time of making sure you get like a decent KD or score or whatever the metric is to keep you happy and keep you playing. And I don't like this. I fundamentally don't like this. Again, this is one that might be subjective. There are definitely people out there who feel it's benefiting people. I've seen it on social media. But personally, I just think it needs to be gone. Keep it in ranked play, where even there they have hidden matchmaking scores, which is ridiculous. I'm not even going to get into that whole thing. But ranked plays a shambles anyway at the moment. But yeah, personally, I've been playing this game a long time, right? I've been down there at the bottom, getting spawn trapped, getting absolutely battered back in Modern Warfare 2, whatever, like the original one. I've done it. I've done my time. Like, I've spent the time in the game as a casual player to get half decent, where I feel like I should be doing okay. More than I do, potentially. But anyway, it's not about me. It's about everybody, and it's about just getting away from that. Everyone's a winner on participant medals and all this rubbish. You know, we don't want to see everybody losing all the time in all pursuits, but there's got to be some sort of drive in a game, a competitive game. There's got to be some sort of reward for trying to get better or just getting better, and the reward for doing better. And SBMM just goes every bit of that. It goes against it. You're just not rewarded for getting better at the game. And so in something that is competitive in nature, I just fundamentally disagree with it. I think it's a scourge on Call of Duty, on Warzone. It needs to be gone. Get rid of it. And that takes me on nicely onto the next point. And it's largely as a result of SBMM, ironically. But item number 6 on this list, your friends have stopped playing. Or at least your casual friends have stopped playing. Because I know half of mine have. I've taken a bit of time out of gaming, and then I'm sure as a lot of people, maybe you watching this video right now, when COVID kicked in, you got a bit more into gaming, a bit more time on your hands, or certainly stuck in the house more anyway. And all that online experience of gaming, we brought a lot of people together, got people coming in, a lot of casual players who maybe turned away from it for a while. And we had some really good experiences, and ultimately that's what Warzone 1 was about. It was about you and your friends, or even new friends you'd met online, all coming together and just having this great casual experience together and just having fun and just mucking around. And it's about, there's the competitive element, but it's fun as well. But SBMM has just driven up this hyper competitive part of the game. And because Warzone and Call of Duty's got so competitive, loads of people have just packed it in because you can't play as a team. So in theory, the SBMM helps the casuals or the lower skill players on their own. But the second you want to play together with your friends, if you've got any difference in like ability or skill level in your friendship group, you've absolutely had it. You have had it, and that happened in my group of friends. I don't know. Again, I don't know about you. I threw this out there. I'm sure it's the same, repeated thousands, hundreds of thousands times over with Call of Duty fans, or former players, friends used to play together, and that's just gone. It's just gone because it got to the point where you couldn't play together. So that's that. Half my friends have packed it in. I've got a few friends now, just dabble a little bit. Some of them play multiplayer, some of them pack that in even, but the world's changed. We're not in a pandemic anymore. I accept that. I'm happy for that, by the way. I'm not looking to keep people in gaming forever who weren't, you know, as passionate about it, but it's at the point where people can't just pick up a game casually and play it with the friends who play more often and more regularly. And so, yeah, number 6, your friends might stop playing. And if your friends haven't stopped playing computer games completely, it might be number 6. There's other alternatives available. Let's just have a scroll down my list here of some of the recent suggestions of games available. So, you know, online free-to-play, cross-play, this is the way games are going now. Warzone isn't like standout in that respect anymore. Delta Force, Marvel Rivals, Fortnite is absolutely making a resurgence. Like with the way this game's been since the launch of Black Ops 6, I'm seeing loads of people either return to Fortnite or try Fortnite for the first time. I'm a full-grown adult human person type ape man, and I've played Fortnite recently. I don't know, should I be embarrassed? There's a bit of a debate around that as well. Put it this way, I watched my young son playing it and I've refused to play with him because I know what SBMM is going to do to his experience if I play with him. I'm not going to ruin that for him. I just watch him drive around and whack people with an axe because he can't use a gun yet. But yeah, I've had a go, it's alright. But anyway, we digress. Helldivers 2, in terms of single player games, Elden Ring, Indiana Jones, that Black Myth Wukong one that I've not looked into too much, but there's been loads of games. That's just this year pretty much, or at the moment coming out. You know, what's that? Off the Grid, the finals. Oh, right. Anyway, the point is, there's all these games, different alternatives, and if you're absolutely threaders with Call of Duty, there's other stuff there you can go away and play. You know, it used to be the case of you'd had Call of Duty and Battlefield, and they were always my games. And admittedly, 2042's not been it. I could do a whole video on that, but like, you know, until we wait for a new Battlefield game, we're looking for like that new sort of symbiotic relationship with the two titans coming together. But there are other games available. So you're not stuck playing Call of Duty and Warzone. I definitely want to have a go at Delta Force. I didn't know much about Marvel Rivals. I've been hearing good things about it though, so I think I'm going to give that a little go. Interested to hear your thoughts. Let me know what games you've been enjoying, and any recommendations of ones I've not mentioned there as well. But on to our top 4 now. We're getting into the big crux of the matter here. These are like proper game breakers. These are the ones where if they're not fixed, like, you know, I've got a whole reflection going on about like the future of Warzone at the minute in particular, and Call of Duty. But now, if we don't get these top 4 fixed, like, we're in real dire straits. So number 4, cheating.
Hey, let's talk about it. I'm cheating and you're gonna die.
Your fight's over, soldier. Return to base.
If you're not seeing it in the game or on social media, but cheating is a huge issue with Call of Duty at the minute. You know, some time ago, I think it was Modern Warfare 2, like new Modern Warfare 2, we had Ricochet came in. They brought Ricochet in as part of the new game. That was it, with Warzone 2. And it was supposed to solve all the cheating issues that we had at the end of the era of Verdansk. Because if you don't remember, everyone thinks about Verdansk with rose-tinted glasses. I don't. I remember the cheaters. It was honking. The cheating was just so rife, it got to the point, even if there was no cheaters in your game, it ruined your experience because of cheater paranoia. And that's where we're at right now. I want to say cheater paranoia, that means you might not have a cheater in your game, but you're constantly questioning whether a kill was legit. Like, you died, but did I die because I didn't do something right, or did I die because it was a cheater?
That was suspect.
And something I'm noticing more and more, I'm not great at spotting cheaters. I don't know, that's like my last shout personally. I try and stay open-minded about people are better, or I just don't know about something, or they've just outplayed me. I'm noticing people just covering it up. It used to be that I feel it used to be that if you got a cheater, they just rage hack. And so maybe the difference now with Ricochet is there's still all the cheaters, but there's not as many blatant rage hackers. That's not to say there aren't blatant rage hackers. There absolutely are. But I think the prevalence of cheaters who try and cover up their cheats, I think that is pretty flippin' common, if I'm honest. Yeah, and do you know what's making that harder to report? Is the inability to spectate people. Yeah, so when you die in game now, you can't spectate the person who killed you. So you've just got to randomly spectate and hope that if you can be bothered, you watch it long enough and then a cheater comes back up and you get to spectate them to be able to report them. Or if you were thinking it was a bit sus, you get to see them again and go, oh yeah, they definitely work. Like I say, a lot of people, they'd just be spam reporting it. Oh, that was a cheater. I've seen enough. I just got beamed. It must be a cheater. And that's like cheating paranoia. And as a result of that, unless it's cheaters doing all spam reporting, as a result of all this cheating paranoia, all the top players in the world right now, like the top of the top 50 rankings for rank play, they're all getting shadow banned. So if you don't know about shadow banning, that's essentially where you use the in-game report feature and then people go on a 7-day timeout. Call of Duty just puts you on a 7-day timeout and it supposedly does some investigation into your account. I don't know if it really does or not. Like the evidence doesn't point to that. It just points that you go on a 7-day timeout and you're made to play in these rubbishy shadow ban lobbies with other people who've been shadow banned and cheaters. So generally it's really good players and cheaters, and you have like 200 millisecond ping. It's a rubbish place to be. I've been there twice. Don't recommend it, but it's out of your control. It's just a stupid system. Anyway, yeah, so shadow bans, let's get rid of that. But most importantly, please, Treyarch, Activision, Raven, all of you, just get onto Ricochet, sort the contract out, let's get a proper anti-cheat sorted. They've recently announced changes coming to improve the anti-cheat. You know, I'm not going to go into the technical details of it, but I think there's massive doubts about whether that's actually going to change anything. And so unfortunately, you know, the cheat developers are ahead of the curve in terms of the actual main game developers in the war on cheats, and it's looking like we're losing that one at the minute, unfortunately. So that's enough on that. Cheating. Into our top 3. Point number 3. Stale content. Stale content. This applies to multiplayer and Warzone. There's a wider sort of piece and reflection I've got on where I think Warzone is and where it's going. It was basically just neglected. The past 12 months, Warzone was absolutely neglected. I could talk about a couple of things like bunkers, opening the middle up of Fortune's Keep, but basically Warzone was just abandoned for the last 12 months and left to wander the wild. So if you're a Warzone player, it's been dire. It's been dire. In terms of multiplayer, MW3 was amazing. An amazing title in terms of keeping things fresh, bringing out new things. And now Black Ops 6 feels like multiplayer is the one that's just been absolutely abandoned, which is crazy because that's the paid thing. Warzone's free. Multiplayer is a paid experience, right? People have paid. I paid 70 quid of my hard-earned money for that game. So whereas we used to have the weekly, you know, weapon challenges, in-season events, like genuine stuff where you had like challenges to complete and things to be working for, Black Ops 6 has had, admittedly, like an epic camo grind. If you're into camo grinding, like if that's your thing, Black Ops 6 has been fantastic. But for me, the camo grind is just like, it's one thing and it's not down to skill. It's just about how many hours you play the game. Like camo grind's not difficult. I've only done one, and that was Orion, and that's because I got COVID over Christmas and I've been chipping away at it through the year, and then I got COVID over Christmas. I was stuck on my own for like a week, so I finished off Orion camo. But yeah, if you're not gonna sink those hours into doing your camos, we've got nothing. We've got no challenges, no events. Like there are events, but they're just absolutely passive events. You turn up, you play the game. There's no special things you have to do or anything. It just tracks with XP in the background. And we had some of those in Modern Warfare 3. but they were in addition to all the other stuff going on. So they would just rotate, like once in a while you'd have one of those ones, like a community one where you'll build the XP together, and that's fine. But you want things to do on your own, because at the minute we've got the multiplayer experience, it is what it is, and they're bringing out like 1 or 2 new maps here and there. And then in Warzone we got Area 99, fair enough, but if you've lost all your friends and you've not got a squad, that's difficult. So I'm not so much of a fan of Resurgence solos personally. I know it's a big following, so that's sort of splitting opinion on that one a little bit. But in terms of big map, we're just stuck with Urzikstan again, and he rolled it back. It was to do with the integration, but we're just stuck on Urzikstan again, and we're due to get Verdansk in the spring. Verdansk, yeah. That map that we played, I mean, I know everyone loves it, everyone absolutely raves about it, and maybe, I don't know, I'm more difficult to please, but I wasn't excited when they were bringing Rebirth back, because I'd played it to death. Same with Verdansk, I played it to absolute death. By the time it was gone, it was like, it was great, I loved the experience, but let's just move on. And with bringing Rebirth back, and then bringing Verdansk back, I just wish the developers had taken that time. And instead of just regurgitating all the stuff, we've been there, we've done it, like I'm having the same experiences but not quite as good. Put that time and that effort into coming up with something new. And I don't mean just something completely new that's all experimental and everybody's going to hate. Find a middle ground. Think about Verdansk, think about Rebirth, think about those two different experiences. Think about those things that everybody loved about them, the way the rotations worked, the way the maps played out, the way the gameplay went, and come up with something new. Think about a new, different map for each of those modes, and they've done that a little bit with Area 99. I don't hate on Area 99 the way people do, and if I was a Resurgence solos player, or I had teammates that we could still play inside of SBMM, we could play Resurgence together, then great. But big maps had it, multiplayers had it. There's no new content there. Like we are wallowing in stale material, and how long can that go on? How long can that go on really before, you know, people are just, even if everything was brilliant in a game, like if you're just doing the same thing every day, that's boring. And I don't know about you, but I'm not going to keep doing the same thing. There's no point to it. Like the only point of gaming ultimately is to have fun, and doing the same thing over and over, that's not fun. What I will say is, I'll caveat that, zombies, fantastic mode. Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit when we get to our good bit, but stale Warzone content in particular, yeah, number 3. So, and then this does lead into number 2 actually, which is multiplayer maps. The multiplayer maps are the worst maps we have ever had in Call of Duty history. I will die on this hill, I will stand by this, and I will pack in Call of Duty forever if my comments get undated with people telling me I'm wrong and these are the best multiplayer maps we've ever had, and I should just like move on, or whatever it is, I don't know. But like, we were supposedly going back to a 3-lane thing, right? Call of Duty maps traditionally have 3 lanes, and that's the way it works. Is you've got like a left channel, a centre channel, and a right channel. And you spawns, the 2 players spawn at each ends, and then the 3 different lanes to go and attack each other and have a little flank around, and maybe 1 or 2 like routes to cut through. But we were supposed to be bringing that back because some of that was lost with some of the old games, some of the maps in MW3. They've gone completely opposite. They've gone the opposite direction, and these maps are just trash. They are awful. There is no flow to them whatsoever. In combination with, I would say, the spawns, but the spawns are a consequence of the awful map design. You can't, in an old map where you'd have your 2 ends and you would spawn at either end, and then the only time you'd have a bad time with your spawn is when your team's getting beaten so bad that the opposition would work their way and control all of the map to spawn trap you basically. But with this map, there's no map control. You can't work with your team to control the map and spawn trap your opposing team. Babylon, that map, it's like, I mean, don't get me wrong, right, hang on, how do I do this without just absolutely going into full rant mode? Shipment, I love Shipment, right? But Shipment has a time and a place, and it is a limited experience within the whole of MW3. Okay? Just like I don't really like Nuketown, how it plays on this game, but Nuketown should be the Shipment for this game. For Black Ops 6, Nuketown should be the place you go in. It's stupid, it's crazy, spawns are all a bit daft, but you just go in and get lots of high kills. Get it out of your system, fine. Total brain rot, but you want to go and do that, have a bit of fun, break it up. And then every other multiplayer map should be a bit more tactics, a bit more knowledge of the map, and a bit more positioning and awareness, and being able to pick your approach routes and flanking and all that kind of stuff, and bring some tactics and thought process into it. And none of that happens. None of it. It's all just brain dead. It's all brain rot. I genuinely, I don't mean to offend anybody here, and maybe I'm showing my age, but it's like TikTok maps designed by TikTokers for a TikTok generation, and I just can't stand it. I hate it. I hate it. You spawn in, you're in somebody's line of sight, you die. You spawn in, you manage to not get shot straight away, you take a few steps, and then you're in like 12 different lines of sight all at once. And as good as you are at like trying to cover your angles, you can't cover everywhere at once. There's people constantly dying, people constantly spawning all over the map, constant lines of sight everywhere. It's absolute chaos. And that's fine for a little break, like in Shipment or in Nuketown if that floats your boat, but that can't be every map going, and that is far, far too many of the multiplayer maps in Black Ops 6. Some of them are decent, some of them play well. Even the good maps still have bad spawns. Like, is it Derailed, the long map with the train? I quite like that map. Mixed opinions on that one, but even the spawns on there, the spawns just flip too easy. They've not got like the hard set enemies and your team spawning at one end from the other, and you attack each other, and then it has to be like a real invasion of the spawn by the whole team to flip the spawns. It just flips so easy, and there's just random spawns all over the place, which just means you can never reliably predict where the enemy is going to be coming from. Even on Shipment, which is absolute chaos, and I know if you've watched the channel quite a bit, you'll have seen me like losing my mind sometimes about spawns in Shipment, but I accepted what it was. Like, it's absolute chaos. But even on then, you could watch the minimap and you could see where your team position was on the minimap, and by figuring out where your team was, the enemy would spawn where your team weren't. On this game, that just doesn't happen. Like, you'll have somebody spawn like in your line of sight, or you'll spawn in somebody's line of sight like regularly on normal maps. Not on the chaos maps, but they are chaos maps. And don't even get me started on that face-off rubbish stakeout. Like, oh. Anyway, right. That is enough about that. Number 2, I've had a good rant about that one, but I think that needed to be said. That's the worst thing about the multiplayer, right? But it is so core to the experience in multiplayer, is the map design. And the maps are bad. They are just bad. But the good news is they can absolutely bring more maps out. But I just don't think they're going to do that. And if they do, are they going to drastically change the way they design them? And are they going to go back to more how we like the maps? They've been said to listen to some of the, the criticism from the fans. But I don't think they're going to start designing a map from scratch now. I think the maps that are going to come out through the life cycle of this game, they've probably already got them done. They're already made. If not like half made, and they need to finish them up a little bit. Like, they're not designing maps from scratch now to come out during this game's life cycle. Like, we're having to wait for the next game now for a refresh of multiplayer maps, is my belief. And we can't do anything with that, unfortunately. Right, on to our last reason why you might not play Call of Duty or Warzone at the minute. And this is the single game breaker for me. And this is the single game breaker why I can get past everything else, even the multiplayer maps, to a point, but I can't get past this. And this is why I'm not playing multiplayer at the minute. And that is poor network connection. Poor network connectivity, lag issues, packet loss, server desync. The main thing is that even when supposedly your ping's okay and there's no packet loss and your internet's working fine and it should be working all good, is you have this horrible experience where you play the game and you're thinking you're shooting somebody, but they're just like tanking your shots like some sort of bullet sponge with an invincibility shield, and then they just turn on you and like just hit you with a couple of shots, or it doesn't even feel like they're hitting you, but you just see your health like zapped, like you're playing hardcore, and then you're dead, and then that's it. Like, multiplayer feels like hardcore sometimes, and I like hardcore, but hardcore has its place as hardcore. But if you're playing core multiplayer maps, the experience of the time to death, the time to death feeling like hardcore is just wrong, and that's clearly not how it's supposed to feel. And what's worse is made by the fact that it's then inconsistent with how it feels your enemies die in terms of the time to kill. It's all janky. And if you watch replays, or I've watched some of my footage back, and this applies even worse in Warzone, I think, is what's called desync. And so what you're watching on screen is, I've been in fights, and I love Omni movement. I've not talked about Omni movement, but I love Omni movement, right? I think it gives you real outplay potential. I'm loving, I'm sorry to upset some of my friends who hate it, but I love the ability to like see somebody who's a little bit more fearful than you, and you just zip past them and break the camera, and then that's the way of getting an advantage and then getting those shots off on, especially as a mouse and keyboard player. It's supposed to be better for controllers, but I personally, as a mouse and keyboard player, breaking the aim assist, this way of being able to break the aim assist, I can't rate it highly enough. But none of that matters if, when you slide past somebody and you can see them shooting, and on your screen it looks like they're shooting behind you, but then your health is still going down, and then all of a sudden you get killed, and you wonder what happened, and you watch the kill cam, and the kill cams are stupid. Like, the kill cam doesn't match up to what you've just experienced whatsoever. And I've watched like my recording of gameplay, so we're not talking about kill cams being inaccurate here. We're talking about in the actual game as it happens. Like, regularly, what you're watching on your screen does not correlate to what is going on. So you've got the enemy, you've got you, and then you've got the server in the middle, and somewhere between all this communication, it's all getting broken down, and basically you and your enemy are playing completely different games. So what's the point? What's the point? We're playing a fast-paced online multiplayer game in between human opponents, and you're just guessing what each of you are doing, or the server's guessing, because it can't keep up, or there's something about it means the game just can't keep up, or the pace of the game is just developed beyond, or the pace of the players is developed beyond what the game can handle. But I'm just absolutely sick of playing a game where you're reacting to it in terms of what's on your screen, but that's not what's happening. It's just a loose representation. You know, if SBMM wasn't bad enough, how bad is it where we're all just playing this like loose sort of out of body experience that's all loosely connected to what your inputs are? It's stupid. Really, really stupid. And I'm struggling to sort of articulate it any better than that. But by far, it is the most broken thing wrong with this game, with multiplayer and with Warzone. And I just don't think a lot of people even realise it, to be honest. I don't. A lot of people do, but I think there's a lot of maybe more casual players. They just can't even put the finger on it. I've got a good friend. He's packed this game in. He's one of the more like sort of committed players to multiplayer, but he didn't really understand it. He just knew something feels off. He just knew something feels off with this game, and that's it. It's just this desync, the network connectivity. However it's working, it is absolutely broken. And just as a little add-on to that, it does vary by platform. I've played it on PlayStation, and my friend who's packed it in, he played it on PlayStation. It doesn't feel good on PlayStation. It's very inconsistent. Sometimes it's okay, sometimes it's terrible. I bought Black Ops 6 on Steam, on PC. The optimization is awful. Like, you get terrible like frames per second performance, so your game runs really slow. And then the desync is noticeably worse on Steam compared to other platforms. So to test it, I downloaded Warzone on Battle.net. I'm not rebuying Black Ops 6 on Battle.net, but I downloaded Warzone on Battle.net, and playing Warzone on Steam versus Warzone on Battle.net, it's significantly worse on Steam. And that's another reason why I'm not playing multiplayer on because I've got it on Steam, and it's just unplayable. I asked for a refund, they won't give me one. I didn't want to stop playing a game, despite all the other issues with multiplayer. I just wanted to buy it on Battle.net because I feel like it actually works to a playable level. But as far as I'm concerned, it's just not playable on Steam, so I'm not playing it any more than I absolutely need to on that platform. So there we have it. Poor network connection, desync, lag, all that kind of jazz. That makes you have those real what the Shrek moments, like what just happened. That's absolute, proper crash out, tossing your desk, lobbing your controller, all that kind of stuff. It's those kind of moments. Awful. And so while we've covered 10 reasons to not play this game, like I said, I'm not a negative channel and I love COD. I'm just going to talk about now one reason why you still might play COD. And it all comes down to, overall, it's a Goliath. COD is a Goliath. It is an absolute Goliath. It's been around decades. Maybe like myself, you've been playing it for absolute donkey's years. You're familiar with it. You feel invested in it. Even the characters like Price, Soap. I know, Soap made a return more recently, but even the characters, the lore, and all that kind of stuff. Just all of it. We've been playing it so long, so many of us, and even if you haven't, everyone's been swept up with the sheer size of COD. It's hard to get to a point where you go, do you know what? I'm just not playing that anymore. I'm just not playing it. And like even my friends who don't play, I've had some of them recently say, oh yeah, when Verdansk comes out, I'll come back, I'll give Verdansk a go. I'll tell you right now, they're not going to have the same experience we had back playing Verdansk, but we'll find that out real time when that happens. But COD generally does do things really well. And so in Modern Warfare 2, the campaign was rubbish. It was just like, a development of 2019, basically, wasn't it? It was supposed to be an add-on, and then he changed it to a full game. People massively aggrieved that the campaign was basically just, it was a bit slapdash. It was a bit lackluster. So while the MW2 campaign wasn't great, people really enjoyed DMZ. And the multiplayer experience was okay. And we had a brand new Warzone experience with Al Mazrah. So there's quite a few new things. And then MW3 came out, and the campaign was loads better. And Warzone was absolutely neglected for a whole year. But the multiplayer was fantastic. Yes, last year, MW3 is probably one of the best multiplayers we've ever had. Everyone's entitled to their opinion on it, and I'd probably like to see, looking how people always go back with the rose-tinted glasses, and there's always nostalgia hits hard. But I'm going to say this now, as we've just finished it. I'm going to say MW3 is one of the best multiplayer COD games we've ever had, and that will stand the test of time. But anyway, so while Warzone was neglected, we had really good multiplayer, we had a decent campaign, and then on to this year, the multiplayer is shocking. The multiplayer is absolutely shocking, but we have had, Omni movement. They are trying, and maybe they'll fix some things. We have had new Area 99. We are going to get Avalon, but that might not, as in a new Warzone map, but that might not be till next year's game. But then the campaign was good. I enjoyed the campaign. But then the real jewel in the crown this year is the zombies. Everyone's absolutely loving zombies. I've basically done 3 or 4 prestiges now with like 1 hour of multiplayer played. And that's because I played a bit of Warzone, because I'm still trying to persist with Warzone, because that's my bag and part of my content here. But zombies has been the most fun. I've ploughed so many hours into zombies, and just Liberty Falls. I've still just been playing Liberty Falls because it's just fun to go in and chill out and switch off and just hose down a load of zombies with a machine gun. Like it's just fun. And when I'm starting to feel like I've had enough of Liberty Falls now, and I'm going to start playing Terminus. And before I've even got into that, we've got a new Citadel Dim Mort like zombies map on top of that. So to summarise that big long rambling wandering blurb about why you'll stay with Call of Duty is just because that there's something for everyone every year, and they don't get it all right every year, but they get enough of it right. It's not like Battlefield 2042 where they didn't do a BR, they didn't do a story, and they put everything into the multiplayer, and then the multiplayer was absolute trash, right? Because then what you're left with? You're left with nothing. So this is what they've done. This is what Call of Duty, where they've been smart. Aside from everything they've done wrong, they have so much of a game. It's almost because they can't keep everybody happy by making everything exactly right. But there's always something for you to be playing. And whether we've seen the best of the content for this year, or maybe we get some more zombie stuff, and this year is, you know, Black Ops 6's year they introduced Omni movement and sorted out all the problems with it. But zombies was good, and then maybe next year we get like a decent implementation of Omni movement, and we'll get, I don't know, maybe Avalon will be really good, and we'll get like a decent multiplayer iteration again, like going back to 3-lane maps. And so that's it. And if the developers, you know, market it that way, that what we're talking about, especially in Modern Warfare 4, people are talking about for next year. Modern Warfare 4, they're talking about bringing wall running back. Not a fan of that personally, but, you know, we'll get past it somehow. But if they bring out all those things for next year, who's not coming back for that? You tell me who's not coming back. And as much as I'm annoyed, like genuinely annoyed that I'm not playing multiplayer this year, like I'm genuinely enjoying zombies, and I'm playing Warzone enough. I've had to download it off another flipping client off Battle.net, and I can't play it on my PlayStation because that's inconsistent as anything. But they just do enough of a game, don't they? They do enough of a game, and that's maybe a biggest gripe. Is just doing enough, or should we be expecting more, or do we expect too much? I've done more than enough talking. I'm interested to see what you all think. So please get involved. Have something to say. Have some comments on everything I've said today. Leave me a comment. Leave me a reply. And if you have enjoyed my my long-winded ramblings while I've been with you today, then please stick a like on the video. I do appreciate it. If I've not bored you to tears today, then I'd love to see you back here for the next video. But for now, I'm out.